AITA for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding after she asked me to cover half the costs, even though she invited me to be her maid of honor. I, 28F, have always had a complicated relationship with my sister, Emma, 31F. Growing up, we were close, but often clashed over small things, mostly because she's always had a very controlling personality, and I'm more laid back. In recent years, our relationship has become more distant, but I always tried to support her when it came to big life events. That said, this wedding drama has seriously tested my limits. About 6 months ago, Emma got engaged to her boyfriend, Mark. When she announced it, I was genuinely happy for her. Mark is a nice guy, and I hoped this would bring some positive changes for her. A few weeks after the engagement, Emma called me and asked if I would be her maid of honor. I was honored, but also a bit nervous because I knew that this would mean a lot of responsibility, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for the kind of attention and pressure that comes with that role. Still, I said yes. I wanted to support my sister and be there for her on her big day. But then the problem started. Emma told me that she and Mark had a fairly tight budget for the wedding, but that they wanted a nice, semi-formal ceremony with about 100 guests. The thing is, she said she was counting on me to cover half the wedding expenses. She claimed this was traditional since I was her maid of honor, and that Mark was also contributing his half. I was taken aback. I had always imagined that the bride and groom would pay for their own wedding and that bridesmaids or maid of honors might chip in for smaller things like bachelorette parties or dresses, but not the actual cost of the entire wedding. When I asked her to clarify, she sent me a spreadsheet outlining the estimated expenses: venue, catering, decorations, dress, photographer, band, etc. The total came to around $20,000, so half would be $10,000. I told her frankly that $10,000 was a lot of money for me and that I simply could not afford that, especially on short notice. I have a decent job, but I also have rent, student loans, and other expenses. Emma said she understood, but that if I didn't pay, I couldn't be maid of honor. She also said the couple was already struggling financially and that this was the only way to make their dream wedding happen. I tried to reason with her. I offered to pay for specific things instead, like the bridesmaid dress or helping with the bachelorette party. But she dismissed these suggestions and insisted on a half payment. We started arguing a lot over this. She accused me of not supporting her and not caring about their happiness. I reminded her that I was willing to be there emotionally and help organize, but I wasn't a bank. She said I was selfish and that family should support each other. Meanwhile, she kept inviting me to wedding planning meetings and events, expecting me to be fully involved and enthusiastic, but without giving me any financial breathing room. I felt like I was being used. Things came to a head about 2 months ago. Emma had booked the venue and catering, and the deposits were due. She sent me another message, demanding the $10,000 by the end of the week, or she would have to remove me from the wedding party. I told her I couldn't pay that amount, and suggested that maybe they should scale back their plans or look for other ways to fund the wedding. She got angry, said I was ruining everything, and blocked me on social media. I was hurt, but also relieved not to be caught up in her drama anymore. Then, last week, she reached out again. She said that Mark had convinced her to reconsider and that they would try to cover more of the cost themselves. But she still expected me to pay for my dress and some of the smaller expenses related to being maid of honor. I agreed to pay for the dress and a small amount toward the bachelorette party, but made it clear that I wasn't comfortable funding the wedding itself. Emma accused me of being cheap and ungrateful. Our parents are split on the issue. Mom says I should do what I can to support my sister because weddings are special, but Dad agrees that Emma is being unreasonable and that it's not fair to demand such a large sum from me. Some mutual friends have weighed in, and opinions are mixed. Some say I should just pay to keep the peace. Others say I have no obligation to fund the wedding. Honestly, I'm exhausted and feel like I'm being punished for setting boundaries. I want to be there for my sister, but I don't think it's right for her to make me responsible for half the wedding budget, especially when she hasn't even acknowledged how financially difficult that is for me. So, AITA for refusing to pay for half my sister's wedding expenses despite being her maid of honor? Or was she crossing a line here? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her new husband? I'm 29F, writing this because I genuinely don't know if I'm being unreasonable or not. I need some outside perspective on a situation that's been weighing heavily on me for months now. My sister, Emily, 32F, and I have always been close, despite our very different personalities. Emily is the outgoing, bubbly type, and I'm more reserved and introverted. Over the years, we've had our disagreements, but nothing major, mostly just sibling stuff. That all changed about a year ago when she met Mark, 34M. At first, I was happy for her because Emily hadn't been in a serious relationship for a while. She seemed really excited about Mark, and I wanted to be supportive. But as soon as Mark entered the picture, things started to feel off. The more I got to know him, the more uncomfortable I became. Mark is charming on the surface, but there's a darker side that only comes out in private or when things don't go his way. He's very controlling toward Emily, often making decisions for her and undermining her opinions. He doesn't treat her with respect, and I've witnessed him being passive-aggressive and dismissive in subtle ways. For example, when Emily talked about wanting to pursue a new job opportunity, Mark shut it down immediately, saying it wasn't realistic or necessary. When I expressed concern, Emily brushed it off, saying Mark was just protective. At family gatherings, Mark always makes sure the attention is on him, talking over others or dominating conversations. He's also rude to our parents, who are usually very polite to him. It's like he thrives on making others feel small or uncomfortable. I voiced my discomfort once during a dinner, and Emily snapped at me, saying I was being judgmental and needed to mind my own business. A few months ago, Emily announced she and Mark were getting engaged. I congratulated her, but I was hesitant. Then, as wedding planning started, Mark's controlling tendencies intensified. He's dictating everything: the venue, the guest list, even the dress code for family members. When Emily asked for my opinion about the ceremony, Mark interrupted and said it wasn't our decision to make. It was his. Emily, who normally loves planning events, seemed defeated but went along with it. The final straw came when Emily sent me the invitation. Mark had specifically instructed Emily to exclude several family members I'm close with, our aunt and uncle who have been nothing but kind to Emily and me. When I asked Emily why, she said Mark thought they were too old-fashioned and would ruin the vibe. I was shocked. Those people raised me when my parents were working, and they mean the world to me. I told Emily I wasn't comfortable attending a wedding where family was being deliberately excluded to appease Mark's ego. We had a long argument. Emily accused me of trying to sabotage their relationship and said if I couldn't accept Mark, maybe I shouldn't come at all. I told her I loved her, but couldn't support a union built on disrespect and exclusion. She hasn't spoken to me since. Our parents are torn. They don't want to choose sides, but are worried about the family rift. Some relatives think I'm overreacting and should just go to keep the peace. Others understand where I'm coming from. I've been heartbroken about this. I want my sister in my life, but I can't ignore what I see as toxic behavior. I also don't want to attend a wedding where people I care about are purposefully left out and where I won't be able to be myself because of Mark's presence. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her husband? Or should I put my feelings aside for one day to keep the family together? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he caused a huge fight during a family gathering? This all started about 6 months ago. My 29F sister, Emma, 27F, started dating this guy, Jake, 30M. Emma and I have always been close, so when she introduced him to the family, I wanted to be welcoming. Jake seemed okay at first, quiet, polite, and respectful. However, I noticed some things that made me uneasy. He was a bit controlling about Emma's plans and seemed to get irritated when she didn't immediately respond to his texts. I chalked it up to early relationship jitters, but it's something I kept in mind. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, our family planned a big weekend get-together at my place. I live in a spacious 3-bedroom townhouse, and I offer my home because I enjoy hosting and I figured it would be easier for everyone to stay under one roof. Emma and Jake were invited, of course, along with my parents and a few other siblings. The day of the gathering, everything was going smoothly until Jake showed up. Almost immediately, he started acting off. First, he got visibly annoyed when I told him where he could park. Then, when my parents arrived, he didn't greet them warmly and seemed impatient. I brushed it off as maybe he was having a rough day. Dinner was when things started unraveling. We were all sitting around the table, sharing stories and laughs, when Jake suddenly interrupted to complain about the food. He said it wasn't cooked properly and loudly criticized the menu I had planned, even though I had asked everyone ahead of time if they had dietary restrictions or preferences. It was embarrassing, and Emma looked mortified. I asked Jake to please tone it down, reminding him this was my home and I wanted everyone to enjoy themselves. Instead, he doubled down, saying that if I wanted to host, I should be able to cook better. That was the moment my dad stepped in and told Jake to be respectful. Jake scoffed and said my dad had no right to tell him what to do. The argument escalated quickly, and Jake accused my family of being judgmental and stuck in their ways. Emma tried to calm him down, but he wasn't having it. He stormed out of the house, leaving Emma behind looking upset. The next day, Emma called me furious, blaming me for embarrassing Jake and ruining their night. She said I shouldn't have involved my parents or told him to be respectful when he was just being honest. I tried to explain that honesty doesn't mean being rude or disrespectful in someone else's home, but she wouldn't hear it. What made things worse is that Emma then started demanding Jake be allowed to stay at my place anytime they visited town, saying he should feel welcome like the rest of the family. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that given how he had behaved. She accused me of being unfair and said I was creating a divide in the family. My parents and siblings have since been asking me if I'm going to apologize or make things right. Some of them say Jake was out of line, but maybe I could have handled it more diplomatically. Others think I'm justified for not wanting someone who disrespected our home to stay over. I don't want to escalate the conflict further, but I also feel like Jake crossed a line and Emma needs to understand that behavior has consequences. I want my family gatherings to be enjoyable, not stressful. I've stood my ground on not letting Jake stay here again, but Emma is threatening to skip future events if I don't accept him fully. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he caused a huge fight during a family gathering? Or should I have handled it differently to keep the peace?